You don't own No, seriously, you don't. I could start by citing the stats that 35.7% of the UK and 31% of Europe rent their homes. Then there's the fact that most of what we own is underpinned by debt, mortgages, loans, credit cards. And don't forget the government's ability to seize your property and possessions through taxes or eminent domain. Even inherited property isn't safe. Labour's new inheritance tax in the UK forces families to sell what's left behind after a family member's death just to pay the government. This is despite the fact that the person who died paid taxes on the money used to purchase that property. But it goes much further and deeper than that. Take Spotify's Car Thing, released in 2021 as a sleek gadget for switching between songs while driving. By February 2022, it was widely available, but low consumer demand led Spotify to halt production just 6 months later. Then came the kicker. Spotify later announced that as of the 9th of December 2024, these devices will stop working entirely. Consumers who shelled out hundreds of pounds are left with expensive paperweights, as Spotify no longer wishes to keep them operational. In the digital era where most of what we own can be limited down to a bunch of ones and zeros, and ownership is becoming increasingly transient, Klaus Schwab's infamous vision, "You will own nothing and be happy," feels less like a dystopian fiction and more like a roadmap. Streaming services are a prime example of what I mean. Physical DVDs are on the verge of extinction. Their sales in the US dropped by 86% between 2006 and 2019. While DVDs are on a rapid decline, streaming services are on an upwards trend. Around 85% of US households now have at least one subscription to a video streaming service, such as Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime Video, and HBO. Cloud storage has also become even more popular, meaning for many, you don't even own your own data. And even these are on a subscription-based payment plan. So if you don't make a payment, you lose access to all of your data. In 2009, Amazon caused uproar by remotely deleting 1984 An Animal Farm from customers' Kindles. Although these books were purchased and people were under the impression they owned these books, Amazon controlled whether people could keep them. This sparked a huge discussion on ownership in the digital age. If something is purchased digitally, do you actually own it? Or are you just renting it on the company's terms? It's not just Amazon. Platforms like Apple and Google Play routinely remove movies and shows from libraries, even for users who paid for them. The fine print reveals the truth. You're not buying a movie or a show, you're licensing it, and that license can expire or be removed at any time. Even on Google Play where it says buy movie, and YouTube where it says buy movie, you're licensing it. In 2020, Amazon faced a lawsuit when a customer discovered that Amazon's buy option isn't truly a sale, that their purchased content could disappear if licensing agreements ended. This case revealed that their terms of service contained certain provisions allowing Amazon to remove movies at any time, stating that customers were essentially buying a limited license. In 2018, a Canadian Apple iTunes user lost access to free purchased movies. Upon contacting Apple, it was explained that the films were no longer available in the consumer's region due to a change in licensing rights, offering rental credits as compensation, hardly a fair trade. In 2021, Google Play customers in Germany and Austria lost access to Studio Canal films. Google refused refunds, reinforcing the illusion of ownership. You don't actually own anything in the digital age, and in these days in the physical realm. And there are many more examples. But it's not just digital goods. Even when you buy a high-end car, certain manufacturers can dictate what you can and can't do. Limited edition cars from Ferrari, for instance, impose strict post-sale rules. You can't resell within a year, modify or repaint the car without approval, or even remove the Prancing Horse logo. Violating these rules risks the consumer from having future access to limited edition cars, or even purchasing one again. It's absurd. You bought the car, but Ferrari keeps control of it. Then there's software. Companies like Adobe have shifted from one-time purchases to subscription-based models. Before 2011, you could buy Adobe products like Photoshop outright, only paying another fee when you want the next update. Today, Adobe Creative Cloud costs over £600 per year. Stop paying and you lose access. And with most Adobe softwares, there aren't too many good alternatives, whether you're talking about Premiere Pro, After Effects, Lightroom, Photoshop. Meaning for most jobs, even my job, paying these fees are a requirement. You have to. These paywalls are creeping into every corner of the software world. I remember when I was a kid, there was an abundance of softwares where you paid once and that was it. However, it's difficult finding softwares or services like that these days. For most young people, including myself, owning a home feels like a pipe dream. Housing prices have skyrocketed to a record-breaking height, far outpacing wage growth. In 2014, when net migration was 212,000, estimates said a house needed to be built every 7 minutes to meet demand. By 2023, with net migration hitting 1.22 million, you can only imagine how that gap has widened. There is no possible way construction companies can meet the demand, which explains why houses are extremely unaffordable. And this will only get worse with time. Deposits are so high that renting becomes the only option for many. But renting makes it nearly impossible to save up for a deposit, trapping people in a cycle where ownership is just out of reach. Inheritance offers a slim chance, but even then, constantly rising property value means many estates will exceed the tax-free threshold of £1 million, forcing heirs to sell just to cover the taxes. Compare this to the 20th century, when buying a house was achievable for working class and middle class families. Today, unless you're a high earner, you only have two options: rent or debt. Either way, those two options make it so you don't truly own your home. You rent it, you don't own it. You take out a mortgage, you don't own it. The notorious phrase, "you will own nothing and be happy," comes from a 2016 World Economic Forum video summarising Danish politician Ida Auken's essay. While the World Economic Forum describes this vision as utopian, it is a dystopian warning of creeping control over private ownership. They don't want us to own anything. Why else do you think the farmers are being massively attacked across Western Europe? Why do you think that inheritance tax recently came in the UK? And why do you think every country across Western Europe is allowing the flood of Islamic migrants into the West, which rise property value massively? The World Economic Forum is an unelected organisation, so the fact that they exert a massive amount of influence and control over our politicians and government system as it is massively concerning. When corporations and governments dictate what you can own and how, freedom is eroded. But they are smarter than to take things outright. Instead, we're fed this illusion of democracy, told we have freedom of speech, petitions at work, and a real choice in elections. But it's all a facade. We aren't truly free. When it comes to private property, they don't openly declare that we can't own it. Instead, they use financial manipulation/blackmail, bury us in regulations, laws and taxes, and make ownership so impractical and so far out of reach that it's pointless. They don't need to literally ban ownership or ban private property. They just need to make it an unattainable pipe dream for the majority. It's all done subtly, underhandedly. On the surface, they act like they care, verbally spinning policies to seem like they're in our best interests, but behind the mask, the reality is starkly different. Every move is calculated and designed to chip away at what little control we have, leaving us without real ownership of anything. But thank you very much for watching. It's been James Harvey from Vox Populi. You can follow me on Twitter at JamesHarvey2503. Please click the subscribe button down below, and I'll speak with you all soon. Cheers.